Hurricane Katrina. Yeah, that's definitely one of those storms that's seared in my memory. And it's really hard to believe it's been 20 years since that storm. At the time, that was the most intense hurricane that I'd ever documented. And I can remember when things really started ramping up after sunrise, it was deafeningly loud. I mean, I had a couple of people with me, my buddy Dave, and we had some friends from Canada with us as well. And even though we were right next to each other, you could not hear each other without yelling at the top of your lungs. The roar of the wind was deafening. And I remember hearing glass breaking. You didn't know where it was coming from, but you knew what it was. You could hear pieces of roof, from the adjacent buildings getting ripped off. I remember at one point I had my camera trained on a jewelry store across the street. We were shooting out of the Hancock Bank parking garage. I believe that was on 14th Street in downtown Gulfport. And I got my camera trained on this jewelry store roof because I saw that it was starting to come apart. And then all of a sudden, a big section of it just kind of gave way, and everything just kind of, landed on the street below. It was unbelievable. It was nonstop like that for several hours. There was also a point where a part of the roof, because our parking garage was attached to the Hancock Bank, and that was, I believe, a 14-story building. And I remember at one point, a part of the roof came off and landed on the fourth level, the top level of our parking garage. We were on the level below that, level 3. And I remember when that happened, my buddy Dave Lewison, who I was with, got that on film. You felt the whole parking garage kind of flex, and then you saw all the debris kind of falling off the sides of the, right above us. It was pretty intense for sure. But yeah, I just remember the roar of the wind. I remember pieces of roof flying by, sheet metal flying by. And when that sheet metal would fly by, there was no warning that was going to happen. We had our backs up against the wall that was not in the wind, and you could see debris flying, through the parking garage at times. So much so that some of that adjacent roof gravel that was ripping through our parking garage was blowing out the windows of the cars that were parked in there. So we had to keep repositioning our vehicles as the wind would shift direction as the storm was coming ashore. So it was a very intense experience, and one that I certainly will never forget.
Okay, we're heading south. This storm.
Hurricane Katrina, August 2005, was the most intense hurricane I've ever witnessed. The day before landfall in the northern Gulf, fellow producer Brandon Jennings and I headed that way. I remember telling him that it would be a catastrophic event, and it was. Katrina ultimately became what I call the Queen of Surge, breaking all previous records with water rising over 30 feet. All morning, the winds increased and the surge moved farther and farther inland. The waters just kept rising higher and higher. As we filmed, a high water rescue team launched a boat right in front of us. People trapped in a hotel looked down at them as they searched for victims in flooded cars. Although the winds were quite high, it was the storm surge that did most of the damage. Like a steamrolling, destroying everything in its path, Katrina turned the world upside down for a lot of people, and ultimately became the costliest natural disaster in U.S. history.